Greetings to Dr. Lee. My name is Lim Jia Chen and today I'm going to present my programming project for CSC 1024. If you haven't heard of the game Mastermind, this game is known to be a two-player code-breaking game where the player 1 is the code maker and player 2 is the code breaker. If the code breaker fails to guess the code after each round, the code breaker will receive a hint. The code breaker is given only 10 attempts to break the code. Firstly, I will present you my Mastermind user interface. This is the game main menu. If a user is new to this game, they can enter 1 to read the instruction. If a user is familiar with this game, they can enter 2 to start game. Now let's begin as a new player and enter 1 to read the instruction. After the instruction is displayed, user will be prompted to press enter to start game. Then it will show the code is being generated and user is asked again to enter to start game. For easier demonstration, the list right here is just to display the secret code for this video only, so that I know what the answer is. In the real program, the secret code will not be displayed. Firstly, I will demonstrate the error checking and data validation during the user guess input. As you can see, when the user enter an invalid shape, it will display invalid code. Please enter only the shape from the shape list. Next, if a user enter less than 4 character code, it will display invalid code. Please enter a code with 4 shapes. Moving on, the input for the code can be either uppercase or lowercase letter. Now, I will demonstrate user entering uppercase only. Next, lowercase only. And next, mix of uppercase and lowercase. As you can see, both are acceptable. The code entered by the user will then generate a hint for them in each attempt. User will be told how many correct shapes they have in the correct place and wrong place. Now, when the user exceeds 10 attempts, they will lose the game. Then the correct code will be shown to the user. The user will then see a main menu prompting for input. User can enter 2 to view high score. And as you can see, the high score remains 11 as the user fails to win the game. The user press enter to return to the main menu. And the user can enter 1 to replay the game. Since the user is already familiar with the game, user can enter 2 to start game. Now, let's say the user successfully break the code on the 3rd attempt, it will display a message and bring the user to the main menu again. Then, the user can enter 2 to view high score. As you can see, it is updated to 3. If the user replays the game and got the code right on the first try, the high score will be updated to 1. When the user wants to exit the game, user can enter 3 to exit. User is then asked to confirm if they would like to exit the game or not. If user change their mind and enter N, they will go back to the main menu. If user enter Y, they will exit the game with a wonderful message. After having to look at the user interface, I will now talk about the programming techniques, logic, and control flow at the back end of code. Firstly, let's look at the input and display data. The input and print function are both very useful to quickly get data from user and display data to user as well. As you can see from the previous part, users are asked to provide input in the main menu and the code breaking part as well. This is where the input function comes in the code section. We can also see many information are displayed throughout the game, and this is where the print function is used to display all those output to user. Next, lists. Lists are very helpful in storing multiple values in a single variable. The values are ordered, changeable, and duplicable in the list. I have created several lists to store crucial information throughout the code. Following that, I have the random choice to generate random shapes for user to guess. In the code, it is necessary to input the random module first in order to use the random.choice method to randomize the secret code. After passing in the desired parameters, it will generate 4 random shapes out of the 6 shapes in the list. Next, if statement, relational, and logical operators. All these are widely used in my code to define a specific decision-making process. Here is an example for all of it being used at the same time. Next, I have used 2 types of loops in my code. Firstly, it's the while loop. It is used to iterate over a block of code for as long as the condition is true. The example is while replay equals true and while attempt less than or equal to 10, where both the replay and attempt variables are the sentinel value to control the loop. Secondly is the for loop. For loops are much shorter compared to while loop to iterate over a sequence. I have used for loop in my code to quickly check if the user input a valid entry during their guesses. And lastly, the user-defined function has been very useful. It is used to do a specific task when it is being called. It helps to run several repeated codes when called, and it also divides the program into modules for easier debugging session. I have used a total of 9 functions in my code for each specific task. Lastly, I have included error handling and data validation to capture invalid values input by user. It can be seen during the main menu input, endgame menu input, and also the user guess input. This helps the code to run smoothly without any unwanted input values by the user. And this concludes my presentation. Thank you very much for listening and have a nice day.